Yo guys, it's Red Marvel here, back again with another video, and today we're going to do a review of one of the one of the best games, certainly of this generation, and that is Yakuza Zero. But before we get into it, if you need to channel to like, share, and subscribe to Red Marvel, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Twitch, and smash that notification button so you know when I get live. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, Yakuza Zero. Well, it's December 1988, and Kiryu is currently being framed for murder in the empty lot in Kamurocho, Tokyo. This is where the plot of Yakuza's story begins. So, essentially, the general story plot, and obviously, Yakuza has a very extensive story, and we'll get into the gameplay later. But essentially, the premise of it is that there's this empty lot, this property in Kamurocho, Tokyo, that is being fought over by the Toju clan, who's commonly led by judgement, and his lieutenants, Kuze, Awana, and Shiwaswa. And on top of that, Kiryu's protective father, Shintaro Kazuma, he wants to basically protect the guy from punishment from the Toju clan, and Kiryu ends up leaving it. Hijinks ensue, and Kiryu ends up meeting a real estate guy called Tetsu Tachiban, who basically promises to clear his name in exchange for helping him acquire the empty lot. So you can see, guys, there's already friction between Tachiban and Tojo clan. Kiryu obviously accepts. He's also joined by a guy called Jun Oda, more on that guy later, who is Tachiban's right-hand man, regarding the squatters' rights to that empty lot property. The judgement basically lieutenants demand that Kiryu actually hand over Tachiban, although Kiryu ends up refusing. Judgement family end up trying to hunt Kiryu down. Obviously, Kiryu has his oath brother in Nishikiyama Akira, who ends up cutting ties with Kiryu in order to keep himself and Kiryu safe as well. Tachiban ends up telling Kiryu that the empty lot owner is actually his estranged sister, Makoto. And she actually lives in Osaka, but she's currently suffering from some really bad psychogenic blindness, and we'll find more about that later. The game kind of sort of switches between Osaka and Tokyo Osaka respectively. When you actually go to Sotenbori, i.e. Osaka, you end up finding with one of the obviously the most popular characters in the Yakuza franchise is Majima, but obviously a younger Majima. And he's forced to basically run this cabaret club by Saguro, who's a member of the Omni Alliance, who ends up keeping tabs on this guy. And obviously in Osaka, the main member of the Yakuza family in Osaka is actually the Omni Alliance, which are the Tojo clan's rivals. Following the orders of his boss, because this kind of if anyone's watch Yakuza 4 and stay tuned for my Yakuza 4 review, you end up finding out the kind of fallout between him and Seijima. This is kind of after that. So basically, Shimano was a secret traitor to the Toju clan. Saguro actually offers Majima a chance to rejoin the Shimano family by assassinating Makoto. So that's obviously Tachiban's sister. Majima ends up finding out Makoto's on the protection of a guy called Wanhei Lee, who was a former assassin. And after Majima decides to, but then after that, and obviously seeing Makoto in her psychogenic blindness because of the trauma she's experienced, Majima actually decides to protect Makoto instead. Lee actually suggests murdering a lookalike of Makoto to fool Saguro, but obviously Majima's like, yeah, screw that, boy. Shibasa's actually assistant, Nishitano actually does so instead. Suspecting the fraud though, Saguro actually ends up killing Lee, who was obviously the former protector of Makoto. Saguro then attempts to kill Majima and Makoto at the same time, and you see that in Osaka, but he's actually stopped by Masaru Sera, who's obviously Kiryu's ally in this fight, and he ends up taking Makoto away. It's all good. Majima and Kazuo actually confront Sera and find that he's turned over Makoto to actually Kiryu and Kamurocho, obviously, and so they end up traveling there. Then basically Kira and Oda actually meet Sarah there, obviously who's their ally, and he tells them that Makoto unwillingly inherited the empty lot from her grandfather. They basically escort Makoto to Kamurocho, but then again they're chased down by Shibasa's men. Main dude. Oda, who's actually who is Tachibana's main guy, is actually revealed, to be a mole for Shibasa, and he actually attempts to kill Kiryu and Makoto, but Kiryu obviously subdues him, beats the crap out of him, and then you find out that actually Tachibana was actually a former Chinese gangster in Japan, and actually was responsible for basically the sex trafficking of Tachiban's sister, which led to the psychogenic trauma that she had, although he hadn't had the guts to basically confess that to Tachiban, so he didn't know. He regrets obviously his crimes, obviously being involved with the Chinese gangsters and who then sent him to a Korean gang, and then he's basically killed by Shibasa. And you can see that Shibasa is now becoming more and more prominent as the game kind of goes on. Kiryu then ends up meeting actually Tachiban, who then reveals that he knew that Makoto was actually looking for him. He also reveals to Tachiban that he's aware of the inheritance of the empty lot, and he obviously turns it to Kiryu, who helped him in the first place to protect Makoto from obviously Dojima family, who really want to get this empty lot. So obviously with their interest in consigned together, Kiryu and Tachiban flee, but Tachiban is then captured actually by Lao Gori.
桐生さん
烈火收着，给我出来！我收到的命令，并没有要求我杀你。
Who, not exactly. He's basically like a Chinese assassin that Dojima actually hires. He's then tortured by Kuze, obviously one of the lieutenants, and his men. Kiryu and Natsume actually come in, defeat the guy, beat Kiryu, and then they discover Tachiban's pretty much been beaten to death and dies. And Kiryu flips, man. Kiryu absolutely flips. He flips out. And it's one of the best fights in the game where he just beats on Kuze. It's great. It's amazing. We then switch back to Majima, and Majima obviously he learns that Shimano actually intended for Majima to protect Makoto, so that she would willingly sell the empty lot to the Omni Alliance. So basically Shimano's playing 4D chess here. Majima then actually finds Makoto in the empty lot. He's plotting revenge for Tachiban's death because she finds out that Toju has obviously been killed, her brother. Despite Majima's concerns, Makoto actually ends up meeting Dojima because she figures out that this is the dude that's killed her brother. He offers the empty lot in exchange for the death of, so he's like, okay, I'll give you the empty lot, but then you've got to kill your lieutenants. But then Dojima declines and says like, yeah, Lagori, you just kill her. Sarah, however, arrives and escorts Makoto to hospital after obviously being shot. However, Shibasa finds Makoto and holds her captive on a ship, basically intercepts the hospital drive. Kiryu, Nishikuma and stuff, but basically storm Dojima HQ, man, and basically have Majima facing off against Lagori, which results in one of the lieutenant's men getting killed in Awana. And then you have, in one of the best scenes in the movie, Kiryu facing up against basically the main dude, Shibasa, and they face off, man. Ultimately defeat the Dojima family. Sarah, who obviously was Kiryu's ally, he was the one that ultimately ends up acquiring the empty lot. And while he does order Majima to kill Shimano for his treachery, Shimano ends up terminating his dealing with the Omni Alliance and reinstates Majima actually into the family, which he's happy about. But that ends up in Sugasa's being killed, who was the guy who was screwing over Majima all this time. Sarah then actually becomes the chairman of the Toju clan, with Dojima basically obviously not exactly best pleased, given that pretty much all his lieutenants are dead or incapacitated. The empty lot ends up being destroyed, and then Millennium Tower, which we now know, the traditional battleground, is actually built on top of it instead. Towards the end of the game, you find out that Majima basically adopts a new persona, which was based on the lead character met over, because you end up finding out that Makoto, she ends up living a peaceful life, falls in love with or has an affinity for this doctor, and obviously Majima lets it be, and then he cheerfully meets Kira and Kamatsu, and the game ends. And that's a brief story summary, so the whole game. It's a really good story. I think one of the best Yakuza plots in the game. The gameplay itself, obviously, it's an action adventure. It's open world environment from a predominantly third person perspective. The setting is in the Japan December 1988 to 1989 period, and is obviously focused around Tokyo and Osaka, as I've sort of said. Players basically can freely walk around Kamatsu and Santabu. They can basically interact with people. You have side quests. You can beat up thugs on streets, play several mini games. Obviously, the Sega arcade games are involved as well. And as typical in the Yakuza series, there's obviously constant character customization and growth, which helps to improve your physical abilities. There's obviously modding things as well, so you can customize Kira Mansion with weapons. In this game in particular, which was so unique about it, you have essentially 4 different fighting styles that both Majima and Kiryu can switch and alternate from, and that obviously adds depth to the Yakuza experience, which was on obviously a completely different engine compared to the previous one. On top of that, you have the main side hustles as well for Kira Manchu. Kira actually has a real estate running business in Kamurocho. So this is during the big boom of 1988, and then Majima actually runs a cabaret club, and those two are games in and of themselves in terms of how extensive they are as well. But yeah, man, I think the best part of the game, gameplay wise, was just the extensive fighting system that they employed. Kira has this kind of brawler-like style, which is a bit different, a bit more, or then you switch to a beast style, which is more thuggish, and then you end up at the end with both of them having the legendary, Dragon of Dojima staff for Kira, and then the Mad Dog of Shimono staff for Majima, respectively, and they just kick ass. It's good. Overall, guys, I mean, this game received a lot of very positive reviews, positive reception throughout. I think Metacritic had it at about I think it's about 9 out of 10, for someone between 8, 9 out of 10. And for me, I love the game. I really, really, really love the game. It's probably like I said, one of the best games in the Yakuza franchise. I would thoroughly recommend it. It's on, obviously, it was released on the PS4. It's now on the PC as well. I think there might be an Xbox edition as well. But guys, this game is amazing. This game is amazing. Let me know what you thought, guys. Did you love Yakuza? Did you want a complete story summary? Do you want to see more gameplay footage? Do you want me to do more Yakuza content? Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment below. Have a nice day, guys, and cheers.